The summer breeze carried the sound of children's laughter across the small town park in Maine. Among them, 6-year-old Tommy Baker chased butterflies near the swing set while his mother Jane watched from a nearby bench. It was a perfect day, until the sky turned purple. The strange light caught everyone's attention. Parents grabbed their children, but before Jane could reach Tommy, a beam of silvery light surrounded him. In an instant, he vanished, leaving only his small red sneaker behind on the grass. Across Earth, similar incidents occurred. 12 children disappeared that day, all taken by the same mysterious light. The world's governments scrambled to respond, but their modern weapons and satellites revealed nothing about the kidnappers. What the Galactic Council didn't know, couldn't have known, was that they had just made the biggest mistake in their 50,000 years of existence. Deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, in bunkers older than human civilization, ancient sensors detected the quantum signatures of the abductions. In a forgotten facility under the Pacific Ocean, a computer system older than recorded history hummed to life. Its creators had long since vanished, but they had left behind guardians for their descendants, the humans of Earth. The system began its primary protocol: protection of human children. Miles beneath the surface of Mars, in chambers untouched for millennia, rows of sleek ships began powering up. They were not human-made, they were gifts from an ancient race who had once called humanity their closest allies. This race had known that one day, humans would need defenders until they could reach their full potential. Colonel James Stone of the United Nations Space Command was the first to receive the message on his quantum-encrypted terminal: Ancient Defense Protocol Activated Designation, Children's Shield Status. Fleet Awakening Human Authorization required. As governments worldwide received similar messages, the truth became clear: Earth had never been alone. Hidden beneath its oceans, under its ice, and in its neighboring planets lay sleeping guardians, a fleet of unimaginable power, waiting for the day they would be needed. And now, as 12 families grieved for their stolen children, that day had come. The Galactic Council was about to learn why the ancient races had left such powerful weapons to protect Earth. They were about to discover that humanity, though young among the stars, had very old and very powerful friends. In orbit around Jupiter, the first ships began to stir, their hulls gleaming with symbols no human had seen before. The message they broadcast to Earth was simple: we are the fleet of the dawn. We were left to protect you. We are awakening. Authorization required to begin recovery of the taken children. Around the world, military leaders and politicians gathered to face an unprecedented decision. They had no idea how to operate these ancient vessels, but in the depths of space, their stolen children waited. And in the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, where the oldest races of the galaxy debated the fate of the primitive humans and their captured offspring, no one yet realized that they had just awakened something that had been purposely hidden from their records. The ancient fleet was stirring, and with it, humanity's true place in the galaxy was about to be revealed. Colonel James Stone stood in the massive underground chamber beneath Antarctica, his breath forming clouds in the freezing air. Around him, holographic displays flickered to life for the first time in thousands of years, showing star maps and fleet positions. Dr. Mary Wilson, Earth's leading expert in ancient languages, worked frantically to decode the symbols floating before them. "This is incredible," she whispered, her fingers tracing patterns in the air. "The language is similar to markings found in caves across Earth. All this time, we thought they were just primitive drawings, but they were instructions, waiting for this moment." The chamber hummed with energy as more systems activated. A deep voice spoke in perfect English, surprising them all: "Genetic match confirmed. Human descendants identified. Welcome, children of the Guardians." Through the holographic displays, they watched as massive ships emerged from their hiding places across the solar system. Each vessel was easily the size of a small city, their hulls gleaming with a metal unknown to Earth science. They moved with impossible grace, defying known physics. "They're beautiful," Mary breathed, watching as the ships assembled in formation near Jupiter. The lead vessel, larger than the others, broadcasted again, "We are the Dawn Fleet. We were created by the Guardians to protect humanity until you were ready to take your place among the stars. That time has come earlier than expected." In orbit around Earth, military satellites tracked the movement of these ancient vessels. The UN Security Council met in emergency session, watching as Admiral Robert Thompson presented the latest data. "The fleet consists of 37 capital ships and hundreds of smaller vessels," he reported. "Their technology is beyond anything we've ever seen. The good news is, they're on our side. The bad news? We have no idea how to use them." But the ships had anticipated this problem. At key military bases around the world, pods began emerging from underground bunkers. Inside each one was a neural interface chair, designed to bridge the gap between human minds and the advanced technology of the fleet. In Nevada, Lieutenant Emma Chase became the first human to sit in one of these chairs. As the neural interface activated, her mind expanded across the cosmos. She saw the Galactic Council's fortress world, where the stolen children were being held. She felt the power of the ancient ships, waiting to be commanded. "It's like they've been sleeping," she reported, her voice filled with wonder. "Waiting for the right moment. They're not just ships, they're alive, in their own way. And they're angry about the children." The Galactic Council, meanwhile, had begun to realize their mistake. Their long-range sensors detected the awakening fleet, and ancient warnings began flashing in their databases. Emergency sessions were called as the oldest races finally accessed sealed records about Earth. "This cannot be," the High Counselor declared, his multiple eyes widening in fear. The Guardians' fleet was a myth, a story to frighten children. They vanished eons ago. But the proof was powering up throughout the solar system. Humanity's protectors had never vanished, they had simply been waiting, hidden by technology so advanced it had been invisible to modern scans. On Earth, Colonel Stone received a new message from the fleet: neural interface pilots detected. Connection protocols initiated. Mankind's children will be returned. The Galactic Council must answer for breaking the ancient laws. As the first human pilots merged with their vessels, a truth became clear: Earth had never been a primitive backwater. It had been a protected sanctuary, guarded by forces that had shaped the galaxy itself. And now, those forces were awakening, ready to remind the galaxy why the Guardians had chosen humanity as their heirs. Lieutenant Emma Chase stood on the bridge of the Guardian vessel, Dawn's Light, though in reality, her body remained in the neural interface chair in Nevada. The ship's consciousness merged with her own, showing her wonders beyond human imagination. Behind her, 20 other pilots had joined the fleet, each connected to their own vessels. "Fleet formation complete," she reported, her voice echoing both in the Nevada facility and across the neural network. All ships showing green status. The ancient fleet moved as one, accelerating past Mars with technology that made light speed seem primitive. The ships didn't so much travel through space as bend it around them, crossing vast distances in moments. At the Galactic Council's fortress world of Prima, alarms blared. The High Counselor watched in horror as 37 impossible vessels appeared at the edge of their system. Each ship bore markings that hadn't been seen in 50,000 years. "Impossible," he whispered, his scaled skin paling. "The Guardian fleet is a myth. A story." The myths became reality as Emma's voice boomed across every communication channel in the Council space. "This is the Guardian fleet, awakened in defense of Earth. Return the human children immediately, or face the consequences of breaking the ancient accord." In the Council chambers, panic erupted. The younger races had never heard of the ancient accord, but the eldest among them began accessing sealed archives, their faces growing darker with each revelation. The High Counselor received an urgent message from the archive keeper: the humans were never meant to be interfered with. Their world was placed under protection by the Guardians themselves. We have violated the highest law in the galaxy. But pride and fear made for poor advisors. Instead of immediately returning the children, the Council activated their defense fleet. 10,000 ships moved to surround the fortress world, their weapons charged. Back on Earth, Colonel Stone watched through the neural network as the Council made their choice. "They're going to fight," he said grimly. "They don't understand what they're facing." Emma felt the ancient ship's response, not anger, but a sad resignation. The Guardians had programmed them to give one warning, one chance for peace. That warning had been ignored. "All ships," Emma commanded, her consciousness expanded across the fleet, "activate the mirror shield." The technology of the Guardian ships made the Council's most advanced weapons look like children's toys. As 10,000 energy beams lanced out from the Council fleet, reality itself seemed to bend around the Guardian vessels. Each attack was caught in fields of twisted spacetime, turned, and reflected back with perfect precision. In the span of 30 seconds, 5,000 Council ships were disabled by their own weapons. The remaining vessels broke formation, their crews finally understanding the gap between their technology and what they faced. The High Counselor's voice shook as he opened a channel. "Please, we didn't know. The records were sealed for so long, we forgot." "Bring out the children," Emma responded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's anger and the Guardians' authority. "All of them. Now." In a secure facility beneath the Council chambers, 12 human children looked up as their doors slid open. Tommy Baker, still clutching his remaining red sneaker, saw tall alien figures backing away from him in what looked like fear. Through the neural network, Emma felt Tommy's presence, along with the other children. The Guardian ships had already locked onto their genetic signatures, ready to bring them home. But as the children were being escorted to transport vessels, Emma detected something else, something that made both her and her ship pause in shock. The genetic scans had found more humans in the Council space. Hundreds more, taken over decades, hidden away on research worlds and private estates. The rescue mission had just become something much bigger. The Guardian fleet hadn't just awakened to save 12 children, it had awakened to right decades of wrongs, and to remind the galaxy why Earth had been placed under protection in the first place. Emma's voice carried across space once more. "All Council worlds, prepare for inspection. Any human found in captivity will be freed. Those responsible will face justice under the ancient accord. The age of treating Earth as primitive is over." Dr. Mary Wilson's hands trembled as she read the ancient text appearing on the screens in the Antarctic base. As the Guardian fleet accessed more of its databases, the truth about humanity's past began to unfold. "Colonel Stone," she called out, her voice filled with awe, "you need to see this." The text revealed a history that changed everything they thought they knew. Humans weren't just random beings that evolved on Earth, they were the last creation of the Guardians themselves, designed to inherit their legacy. Through the neural network, Emma Chase shared this revelation with the other pilots. Her ship, Dawn's Light, provided more details as they continued their mission across Council space. "The Guardians knew they were dying out," Emma explained to the Earth Command Center. "They spent their last centuries creating us, embedding their potential in our DNA. That's why the Council's scientists were so interested in human children. They sensed something special about us but didn't understand what it was." On a research station orbiting a distant moon, the Guardian fleet found the first group of hidden humans. 30 children, taken over the past 5 years, were being studied in secret laboratories. The ship's advanced medical systems quickly detected the experiments that had been performed on them. Lieutenant Mark Rogers, piloting the vessel Star Memory, felt his ship's anger merge with his own. "These kids have been through hell," he reported. "But the ships, they can heal them. The medical technology aboard these vessels is like nothing we've ever seen." The children were transported to Dawn's Light, which had transformed its interior into a massive medical bay. The ship's systems began reversing the damage done by years of experiments, while also revealing something extraordinary about the test results. Back on Earth, Dr. Wilson decoded more of the Guardian records. The Guardians didn't just make us in their image, she explained to the UN Security Council. They made us better. Every human child is born with the potential to understand and use Guardian technology. That potential usually stays dormant, but the Council's experiments were accidentally beginning to wake it up. In orbit around the Council's fortress world, Emma received a priority alert from her ship. The medical scans of the rescued children showed signs of emerging abilities. They were beginning to interface with Guardian technology naturally, without the need for neural chairs. Tommy Baker, the first child taken, demonstrated this most clearly. As he slept in the medical bay, the ship's systems responded to his dreams, creating holographic displays of Earth, of home, of his mother Jane. The Council didn't just break the ancient accord by taking human children, Emma announced across all channels. They nearly triggered a premature awakening of humanity's inherited abilities. The Guardians had a careful timeline for our development. That timeline has now been disrupted. The High Counselor, now understanding the full magnitude of their mistake, ordered an immediate release of all records relating to human captives. The number was staggering, over 700 humans, mostly children, scattered across 50 different worlds. Colonel Stone organized the rescue efforts, coordinating with the fleet's automated systems. The ships are marking rescue priorities, he reported. Some of these kids, they're showing signs of Guardian abilities already. We need to get to them before those abilities fully manifest. As the Guardian fleet split into rescue teams, Dr. Wilson made another discovery in the ancient text. There's something else, she said, her voice tight with concern. The Guardians didn't just leave us their technology. They left us their enemies too. Ancient beings that even they feared, beings they sealed away. And now that the Guardian fleet is awake. She didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone understood, the awakening of the fleet might have saved Earth's children, but it had also sent a signal across the galaxy. Somewhere in the dark between the stars, something ancient and terrible had heard that signal. The rescue mission had just become a race against time. They needed to find all the missing humans before these ancient enemies realized that the Guardians' heirs had finally begun to awaken. The first sign of trouble came from the outer edges of Council space. 3 Guardian ships, led by Lieutenant Rogers aboard Star Memory, were approaching a research facility when their sensors detected something impossible, a void in space itself, moving against the starfield. Emma, are you seeing this? Rogers called through the neural network. Before she could respond, the void expanded, revealing something that made the ancient ship's warning system scream to life. A massive vessel emerged, its surface seeming to swallow light itself. It was neither Guardian nor Council design. It was something older, something that had been waiting in the spaces between stars for 50,000 years. Multiple contacts. Emma shouted, feeling Dawn's light's recognition of the ancient enemy. The Void Dancers, the beings that drove the Guardians to extinction, they're back. Through the neural network, knowledge flooded into the human pilots' minds. The Void Dancers were beings of anti-life, entities that consumed civilizations. The Guardians had fought them to a standstill, sealing them away in pocket dimensions, but the cost had been their own extinction. On the research facility, 30 more human children waited for rescue. Rogers watched in horror as the Void Dancer ship approached, its very presence causing reality to warp. "We can't leave those kids," he declared, and felt Star Memory's agreement. The Guardian ship's systems activated combat protocols that hadn't been used in 50 millennia. Back on Earth, Dr. Wilson frantically translated warning texts appearing in the Antarctic base. "The seals," she exclaimed. When the Guardian fleet awakened, it weakened the dimensional seals holding the Void Dancers. "We have hours, maybe minutes, before more break through." Colonel Stone's voice remained steady as he addressed the neural network pilots. Priority 1 is still rescuing our people. The Guardian ships know these enemies, trust their combat systems. Let the ships guide you. Emma felt Dawn's Light's memories of the ancient war. The ship had fought the Void Dancers before, had seen worlds fall to their hunger. But now it had something it didn't have before, a human pilot, with human creativity and Guardian potential combined. All ships, new combat protocol, she commanded. Don't fight the way the Guardians did. We're human, let's show these things something they've never seen before. Rogers understood immediately. Instead of engaging the Void Dancer ship directly, Star Memory and its squadron performed maneuvers that would have been impossible for the original Guardian pilots. They twisted space in ways the ship's builders had never imagined, using the neural interface in ways it had never been used. Tommy Baker, watching from Dawn's Light's medical bay, felt something stir inside him. The other rescued children felt it too. Their inherited Guardian abilities were awakening faster now, triggered by the presence of the ancient enemy. Through the medical bay's windows, they watched as the human-piloted Guardian ships danced around the Void Dancer vessel. Where the Guardians had fought with precision and calculated grace, the human pilots fought with imagination and unpredictable passion. The Void Dancer ship, expecting the familiar patterns of Guardian combat, found itself outmaneuvered. Rogers led his squadron in a spiraling attack pattern that turned the enemy's reality-warping abilities against itself. The massive vessel, unable to compensate for human unpredictability, collapsed in on itself, pulled into one of its own void spaces. But the victory was bittersweet. More dimensional seals were breaking. More Void Dancers were emerging. And there were still hundreds of human children to rescue. Time for a new plan, Emma announced, feeling Dawn's Light's approval of her idea. We're not just rescuing the children anymore. We're going to wake them up, all of them. The Guardians wanted us to develop slowly, but we don't have that luxury now. Every human child with Guardian potential needs to awaken. Now. The risk was enormous, but they had no choice. The Void Dancers were returning, and Earth's children were the only beings in the galaxy with the power to combine Guardian technology with human innovation. The future would belong to those who could adapt fastest, and humanity had always been good at adapting. In Dawn's Light's transformed medical bay, Tommy Baker stood among hundreds of rescued children. His eyes glowed with a faint blue light, the first visible sign of awakening Guardian powers. Around him, other children showed similar signs, their inherited abilities stirring to life. The ships are singing to us, Tommy said, his voice carrying an echo of ancient knowledge. They're teaching us how to wake up. Emma watched through the neural network as the children began to change. The Guardian ships had converted their largest chambers into awakening pods, each one designed to safely guide a child through the transformation process. What should have taken years was being compressed into hours out of desperate necessity. Dr. Wilson's voice crackled through the communication system. The Antarctic base is picking up massive energy signatures. The Void Dancers, they're not just coming through random tears anymore. They're making a coordinated push into our reality. Through the fleet sensors, they watched as dark ships emerged by the hundreds. The Void Dancers had recognized the threat of awakening Guardian heirs and were moving to stop it. The Council's worlds, finally understanding the true scope of the danger, mobilized every ship they had. We need more time, Emma announced, feeling Dawn's Light's concern for the children. The awakening process can't be rushed any further without risking their minds. Colonel Stone made a decision that would change the course of the battle. All Council ships, form a defensive line with our Guardian vessels. We hold here. We give these children the time they need. The sight was unprecedented, Council ships joining with Guardian vessels, forming layers of defense around the medical ships where hundreds of human children were undergoing their transformation. The Void Dancers struck the defensive line with weapons that bent reality itself, but the combined fleet held. Inside Dawn's Light, Tommy became the first to complete his awakening. His consciousness expanded, touching the ship's systems in ways even the neural interface pilots couldn't match. He reached out to the other children, helping them through their own transformations. "I understand now," he said, his voice carrying across the neural network. "The Guardians didn't just give us their power, they gave us their mission. Their hope." Lieutenant Rogers, still defending the line in star memory, felt his ship's systems suddenly enhance. Tommy and the awakened children were connecting to the Guardian fleet directly, adding their power to the ancient vessels. The Void Dancers pressed their attack, but now the Guardian ships moved with impossible new patterns. Human creativity, Guardian technology, and the pure potential of awakened children combined into something entirely new. Where the ships once bent space, they now rewrote it. Where they once reflected attacks, they now transformed them. Emma felt Dawn's light's joy as the children's power flowed through the fleet. This was what the Guardians had planned for, not just heirs to their power, but beings who could take that power in new directions, who could imagine solutions the Guardians never could. But the awakening wasn't complete. Many children were still in the process of transformation, vulnerable and needing protection. The Void Dancers, sensing this weakness, concentrated their attack on Dawn's light's medical bay. "They're trying to stop the awakening," Emma shouted, feeling her ship strain against the assault. "They know if all the children wake up, their advantage is gone." Tommy stepped forward in the medical bay, his eyes now blazing with Guardian energy. Around him, the first wave of awakened children gathered. Through them, the Guardian fleet's power grew exponentially, each awakened mind adding new strength to the ancient ships. The battle reached its critical moment. On one side, the combined Guardian Council fleet, powered by the first wave of awakened children. On the other, an endless swarm of Void Dancer ships, determined to stop humanity's emergence as the Guardians' true heirs. And in Dawn's light's medical bay, hundreds more children approached their moment of awakening, their combined potential building towards something that would reshape the galaxy forever. The final wave of energy surged through Dawn's light's medical bay as the last child completed their awakening. 742 human children stood transformed, their eyes shining with the combined power of Guardian technology and human potential. Tommy Baker, the first to be taken and the first to awaken, stepped forward as their voice. "We are ready," he announced, his words echoing through both neural network and space itself. "We know what we have to do." Emma felt Dawn's light systems respond to the children's presence in ways she had never imagined possible. The ship wasn't just a vessel anymore, it was becoming something new, transformed by the very beings it was meant to protect. "The Void Dancers are preparing their final attack," Lieutenant Rogers reported from star memory. "They're combining their ships into something massive. Something that could tear reality apart." Through the fleet sensors, they watched as thousands of Void Dancer ships merged into a single entity, a writhing mass of darkness larger than Earth's moon. It began to pull at the fabric of spacetime, threatening to create a tear that would consume everything in its path. But the awakened children had seen this in the Guardian ship's memories. They knew what the Guardians themselves had never realized, the true purpose of their inherited powers. "The Guardians fought the Void Dancers to a standstill," Tommy explained, his voice carrying ancient wisdom and human compassion. "But we can do more than that. We can heal them." The children raised their hands as one, their powers flowing through the Guardian fleet. The ships began to move in impossible patterns, weaving a new kind of space around the massive Void Dancer entity. But instead of attacking, they were creating something. "They're not weapons," Dr. Wilson gasped, watching from Earth as new data flooded the Antarctic base. "The Guardian ships, they were never meant to be just weapons. They're tools of creation." Through the neural network, Emma felt the truth. The Guardians hadn't only been warriors, they had been builders, creators, healers. They had sealed away the Void Dancers because they couldn't cure them. But their human heirs, with their unique ability to imagine new possibilities, could see what the Guardians could not. The children's power flowed through the fleet, transforming the ancient ships into a vast network of energy. Where the Void Dancers pulled reality apart, the children wove it back together, not as it was, but as it could be. Reality isn't just what is, Tommy said, channeling the combined understanding of Guardian knowledge and human insight. It's what we believe it can be. The massive Void Dancer entity fought against the children's power, but it was fighting against something it had never encountered: hope, imagination, and the unshakable human belief that tomorrow can be better than today. Colonel Stone watched in awe as the darkness at the heart of the Void Dancers began to change. Where there was hunger, the children's power created fulfillment. Where there was destruction, they offered creation. The very nature of their ancient enemy was being transformed. The Guardian fleet, guided by human pilots and powered by awakened children, formed a sphere around the transformed entity. In a flash of light that rippled across the galaxy, the war that had lasted for 50,000 years finally ended, not with destruction, but with healing. As the light faded, the Void Dancers were gone. In their place floated new beings of pure energy, their nature transformed by the combined power of Guardian technology and human compassion. The Guardians sealed them away because they couldn't imagine another solution, Emma realized, feeling Dawn's light's agreement. But we could. That's why they chose us, not just for our potential to use their power, but for our ability to use it differently. The High Counselor, watching from the fortress world, bowed his head. We thought we were studying primitive beings, he admitted. Instead, we accidentally awakened the greatest force for change the galaxy has ever known. Tommy turned to the viewing window, looking out at the transformed galaxy. The Guardians left us their legacy, he said, but they also trusted us to forge our own path. Now we can do what they couldn't, build a future where healing is stronger than hatred, where imagination overcomes impossible odds. As the Guardian fleet regrouped, carrying its precious cargo of awakened children back to Earth, the galaxy watched in wonder. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, it had emerged as something new, the bridge between what was and what could be, the Guardians not just of power, but of possibility itself.